I just want to wrap up by explaining how this museum, it's not just a project in itself. To me, it's really, I come from the theatre, so to me, even this kind of exhibition is a living, evolving artwork. I readapt it every time I go somewhere else. It usually takes me around 3 months to build a new version. 1 month of interviewing academics, local politicians, journalists, activists, etc. And then I try to readapt the contents. This was for the European elections in Austria, for example. I try to embed it within the building we find. But it's also a living artwork in the sense that it's become the kind of my personal archive where whenever I make a new work, it ends up in the museum. And there's rooms in the museum that suddenly become a film, a theatre piece. For example, The Miracle of Almeria, which is a 3-part TV series that is being directed by Mon Blazer, who's a Dutch film director. We've been working together for 5 years now on this TV series, and it's related on this to this hut that I described earlier on in Almeria. And it's basically a collaborative TV series where we often work on the notion of pre-enactment as well, but we enlarge it or we extend it so that the radius of action of documentary speculation does not limit itself to pre-enactments of impossible or possible futures, but we also talk about possible and impossible pasts and possible and impossible presents. And the reenactments we do in close collaboration with both the legalized and illegalized inhabitants of the region are not just a way of trying to conjure up memories or give historical context. The aim of the reenactments is really to momentarily interfere in the past, in the present, or in the future, and as such bring into focus existing power relations, temporarily turning them around or abolishing them. And this leads to scenes where, or which take us to moments or spaces of inequality often, and impotence, but in which the actors or the collaborators, the writers, the subjects, they themselves display and are fully aware of their agency. And this to me is very important, this notion of agency, because the documentary industry is very much founded on a notion of, you see it when you have to apply for funding for a documentary. You have to already in advance describe who your characters are. Which I find a tremendously shocking word, because it really reduces people, often in very precarious circumstances, to be passive subjects or even objects in a story that is then told about them. So to me, a lot of my work is about finding spaces for that can display agency, where the people we work with can find space to subvert the image that they feel that they are trapped in. For example, the image of the migrant, the image of the woman, the image of the racist. And to wrap up, because my time is up, I will just give 2 examples. For example, during the production process, you see on the right-hand side Suleiman. Suleiman is a greenhouse worker from Mali. I first met him together with Mon in a bar where we just asked him, hi, how are you and who are you, what do you do? And he started telling us about his perilous journey across the Mediterranean and the people who died on board. And we were really shocked, and we said, why are you telling us this? We just asked you who you are and what you do. And then he said, without any sense of irony, because that is what you want to hear. And this to me was really the beginning of my research into this visual economy, which I'm part of, which I create as an artist, which I contribute to, and which copies and circulates images of people with no agency within the creation of these images. And so Suleiman in the film, he directs, he writes, and he takes on a plethora of roles. He plays a border guard trainee, he plays a migration art investor who goes looking for interesting migration art, he plays a greenhouse owner, etc. And we did the same with other people as well. For example, this is the final example. We worked together with an elderly activist whose mother died after the Civil War in the Franco-organized, Francisco Franco-organized famine in order to squash any kind of resistance. His mother died during this famine, and when he asked him, if we organize a reenactment and we bring Franco in a fancy 1930s Mercedes, what kind of scene would you like to make together with him? And Pepe is his name. Pepe's answer was basically, I would like to shoot him. And so we decided to take that seriously. And there was a shooting range nearby, so we organized training for him. So he learned how to shoot. And then we created a scene, a pre-enactment, let's say, of Pepe shooting Franco in the head. There you go. That's it. Thanks a lot for listening, and I hope we can discuss the rest later.